recording this in my wife's art studio because my room's too hot, and I've just found that she's got some of these like rhubarb and custard sweets. So just before I was filming, I started eating one. Not really worth that. This is for all the writers. And when I say writers, I mean people at like my level, Hilary Mantel and Neil Gaiman. They're fine, right? They don't need my advice. Something happened in this last week, and if you're like me, you're writing, you're trying to get things completed, this might help, because it's been a bit of a revelation for me this week. So, and I'll see if I can finish this sweet. I genuinely didn't think it'd take this long. I've already shot 4 minutes of raw footage, just me eating sweets. So, let's go. Writing advice. Earlier this year, I had my play boxed in on at the Arena, and this was like the first project as me as associate artist at the Arena. And it was a project I'd written over the previous 3 years, and then it was kind of, it's time for my next project as associate artist, which means I need to create something long form for a theatre, which means either like a 50-minute fringe show or something like an hour and a half or 2 hour stage play. Now, when you start writing, if you're anything like me, you'll have an idea, and you've got a couple of choices. Then you let that idea percolate and flesh out and become full, so you know the story from A to Z. Or you could just, that very little nib of an idea, just start writing. Now that's how I tend to write, and a lot of what I write never reaches public consumption. I think that's the first thing. This is one of the first realisations that I've had. I feel like I'm starting to get a bit of success with my writing. So it started to feel like what I write has to fit into a project somewhere. And of course that's complete rubbish. I assume if you go to the gym, it's like doing your reps. Like I know anything about going to the gym. If you're a guitar player, it's practicing your scales. No matter what you write, you're just working that muscle. So don't feel that everything has to be towards an end goal. But here's the thing. I've got 4 ideas. They're in my head and they're in my notebook as, this isn't the title, this is just how I kind of categorise them in my head. So, the typewriter, working class creative, 2 people meet and they definitely do not have sex. Saying that's not a title, it might be. It's quite a good title. And then there's a 4th story, which is kind of the zombie story. And that's very much long form novel. So these 4 ideas are playing around in my head, and I'm making notes and I'm writing. And every time I'm writing something for these projects, it's like pulling teeth. And I got to the point where I was genuinely thinking, I can't do it anymore. I've got this associate artist position. Yeah, I can't write anymore. It's gone. While all this is going on, I'm also still like writing bits of poetry and doing that sort of stuff. And I got a real gig in front of real people, which is like the first time in 12 months, I think almost 12 months to the day, because of COVID. I'm going through some of my poetry, and I dig out a couple of, not brand new poems, but stuff that had been written in the previous few months. And I read this poem I've written, and I go, oh, the working class creative idea, that can drop in there. And the whole thing just went, and I remember sitting there before the gig just thinking, I really need to get onto my laptop. I need to write all this down. And I got my notebook, and I'm not very good at writing in notebooks. My handwriting's terrible, and I haven't got any kind of shorthand, and I can type a lot faster than I can handwrite. And I'm just trying to handwrite these ideas. They're just pouring out of my head. And it was literally something I'd written 2 months, 3 months previous, just because I was doing a gig, it came into my head. And just because I was pulling teeth on all these different ideas, and it was just like, oh crikey, that thing drops in there, and that now means that this thing goes whoof. So here's the thing, writers. Keep writing. It can sometimes feel like you're absolutely pulling teeth and it's not working. Just keep going. So that's what this was about. It was about saying, keep going, keep plugging away. As hard as it gets, you'll get through it. And if you've got imposter syndrome, that's normal. But you can do this. Keep going. Hashtag sucking a sweet.